Hi, I'm here from Aunt M's Quilts and M's Scrap Bag, and today I'm going to talk about and give tips and tricks on piecing a back for your quilt. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some scraps or chunks of fabric that are not quite big enough, and I'm going to show you how to put together a back for this quilt here. This is one of the orphan quilts that we did at our orphan block night at Utah annual meeting. And then I will show you some examples of quilts that I've done with a pieced back. Remember, if you like my videos, to like and subscribe. All right, let's get started. All right, this quilt here, as I lay down on it, I don't know how to not go out of the camera, but so this was done at our orphan block night that we do every year, annual meeting in Utah Quilt Guild. People donate their orphan blocks, and then we have a night where we put them together and make quilts, and they go to charity. So I thought it'd be fun on this quilt to show you how to piece a back. So I've grabbed some fabrics from my stash that I feel go with this quilt, and though none of them are big enough to make a back, I know that by piecing them I can come up with a back, and it will be a fun back for this charity quilt. So let me show you that process. So what I do is I just start laying stuff down on top of my quilt. I'd like to do this on the floor. I could do it on a design wall, but because of gravity, I'd have to pin stuff and it wouldn't stick. So I just find that it's easiest to just throw it down on the floor and kind of puzzle it all out. So you can see I've added strips and rows, and we want it to extend about 4 inches outside of the quilt all the way around if you're taking it to a long armor or you're long arming it. If you baste and do it on your own machine, you can get away with just like 2 inches all the way around. And that's usually how I do it because I don't have a long arm and I just do it on my regular machine. So I just make sure my rows of the scraps here, this row is all the same size, and I'm just sewing those strips together. I'm just going to keep sewing the rows together until I get this whole back, and so that it's about 2 to 4 inches larger than the quilt itself, depending on how you want to have it quilted. Let me show you why I did some things, like with the yellows. Let me see if I can, this yellow that's at the top and interspersed, I had this and I wanted to use it up, and rather than two horizontal rows, I broke it up so that I could make the rows that I didn't quite have enough. So I just kind of sprinkled it through. Up here I wanted to show you, right here I put these small little strips right here, these strips to the bottom, because I'm going to have that 4 overlap, and if I did that they would be lost. So I'm putting them toward the inside of the quilt. So that's something to consider. Also, you want to not make things symmetrical, because when it gets on the long arm machine it doesn't always feed through correctly. So if things are asymmetrical, you can't tell that it didn't feed through that way. Now let me show you some more examples of quilt backs that I've pieced. I do this quite a bit. I've just chosen a few. So what you can do, if you have a large piece but it's not quite big enough, is you can add a scrappy strip through it. Just do it kind of off center, because it doesn't always go on the way you want. And so like I said while I was laying it out, if you do it off center, that kind of makes up for that. And you won't be able to tell that it didn't go on the way that you had planned. So kind of off center your strip. If you have orphan blocks or leftover blocks, maybe you made too many for your quilt, or some of them didn't turn out and so you're not going to use them in your quilt, you can put those on the back like I did on this quilt. If you have scraps, like this is the back of my Sunshine on a Cloudy Day, and I just had leftover fabric from it, so I used that into rows and put that on the back to make a scrappy back. Or if you just have some chunks of fabric, maybe you used them in one project and you are just looking to bust through some scraps, you can do that like I did on this one, or the one that I showed you on the floor. So that's how you can make a scrappy back. Just kind of offset things, just sew things together. It's just kind of like a puzzle. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.